Food and video games have gone together since the dawn of time, when on the seventh day from the dust, God created Halo, Combat Evolved, and from his rib, Cool Ranch Doritos, who then proceeded to eat a gapple from the Forbidden Skill Tree and get vac banned from the Garden of Elo. Basically, food and video games go together like theater kids and being bullied in high school. You can't have one without the other, hello. And so, it makes sense that food has played a prominent role in video games. From Pac-Man to Elden Ring, food very often plays at least some kind of role. And as YouTube's resident gamer, who edits his videos sitting next to a 2-pound bag of gummy bears, I figured I should be the one to talk about it. Now, I don't want to talk about food games, because yes, Papa's Pizzeria has pizza, which some consider a food. What's more interesting to me is regular games that choose to use food in interesting ways. The most basic form of what I'm talking about can be seen in power-ups. Small Italian man eat magic mushroom and either grow tall or harness the power of Lazarus. I'm feeling very biblical this episode, I guess. In Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, food can act as both a temporary buff and a way to regain health. But that's not the part that makes people like the food in this game. The thing that makes people like it is cooking. Being able to decide to cook food and what food to cook with what gives the player a sense of agency that matches the rest of the game. Plus, a big part of cooking is fucking up, so it's good that the game tells you that if you cook bat wings and rocks, it won't taste very good. Elden Ring isn't really a game people think of when you say food, but if you talk to this guy, you know how central food is to his character, which is one of the best in the game.
Never met someone with a taste for prawn I couldn't trust.
Boggart starts out hostile and wary, but through his love of prawn, you begin to open him up and see how pleasant and peaceful he is.
What are you looking at? Oh, you again, is it?
In my video about video game inspirations, I talk about food being used as a horror element in the game Little Nightmares. Horror is my favorite use of food because at a certain point, us as humans can tell when food probably shouldn't be eaten. So by showing someone or something eating that, you can immediately set off subtle alarms in the player's head. Mr. Baker, I don't think I should eat that knife. Resident Evil 7 is another game that does horror via food really well, especially in the beginning. From the crow in the microwave to this delicious, wholesome family meal, the game is saying, maybe these guys are a little bad and spooky. And I could also talk about the whole incest weirdo dinner thing in Red Dead Redemption 2. You get the point. Food is scary, it should never be eaten, and something is rotten in the state of Denmark. But obviously food doesn't need to be used to set a horror scene. Food can be used to set the vibe of any game, whether it be horror or something cozy. The quality and type of food can help establish the atmosphere. Look at this soup in Link's Awakening. This soup is made by a bear. Now, by looking at this soup, do you think the game is telling you that this is a scary bear who you should fear? Do you think you should run away because the bear is making scary soup? No, of course not. This is the soup of a friendly bear. And of course, Nintendo makes the best looking soup in video game history in one of the Zelda games where you can't eat soup. Or look at the Luncheon Kingdom in Mario Odyssey. This is essentially the game's greater lava level with the exception of Inside the Moon. Look at these two levels. Same basic idea, but very different vibe, because this level is positioned as more welcoming and friendly with food, and also Pepto-Bismol. Then there's the boring games that use food realistically, where you have to eat it or you'll die. For this, I look at games like Subnautica, Minecraft, and Death Road to Canada. In this scenario, instead of being a setting piece or a power-up, food is a resource that you need to collect and manage lest you starve to death. And while this is my least favorite and most stressful use of food, it often opens the doors to a greater variety of foods similar to Breath of the Wild, where different foods, either cooked or raw, will return a different amount of hunger. So do I eat this old rotten peeper right now and slightly dehydrate myself, or potentially waste one of my nutrient blocks? Minigames, however, decide to use food not as a survival tool, but a good to be collected and sold for profit. Games like Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, or Dredge all view the foods you collect, harvest, or forage this way. And while they do have secondary uses, their primary function is to make you money. Food in video games does way more than most people think about, and every game from here on out should be Check's Quest. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, please consider subscribing. I do this weekly, and click here to watch that video I mentioned about video game inspirations.